Let the people make the decision. Hey folks, Eric from Another Voice with Eric and Friends. I just left a very lively Greenville County Council meeting. Not just the folks in attendance, but the council was very animated. And the subject matter, of course, is taxes. The county council's 1% sales tax referendum that they're trying to put on the ballot was where all the fireworks occurred. The agenda was full. There was lots of things on the agenda, but the main issue was this. And before we get to the council, let's just talk about the group who came to attend. There were lots of people there. It was close to full. And there were two clearly, distinctly different groups on this issue in the room. You had the no to a tax hike, no to putting it on the ballot, from the folks like the No Tax Hike, the Liberty Caucus, Rhino Hunt, and others. A lot of those were wearing green T-shirts. Then you had another group, close to same size, with a tag saying, "My roads, my vote," who want the thing to be put on the ballot. And I would say that most of them want it to pass as well. So you had these two groups. The no's may have had a few more people than the yeses, but it was fairly even when you heard people speaking and the response they got. One group cheered and the other one was silent, and vice versa. So it was a pretty good-sized group. And I was glad to see a number of younger people in the audience. In recent public hearings and council meetings that I've gone to, it's tended to be older like me. And so I was glad to see that. Now, I'm not going to go into rehashing all the arguments pro and con, because we've already done that before. And most of what was said tonight followed along the traditional lines of the no's and the yeses. I would say that there were more people who spoke against the tax and the adding it than there were who spoke in favor of it. But let's turn our attention to the council itself. Now, I have attended city council a few times. I have to say that I felt a more cohesive governing body, people who are working together on city council, even though in the recent times I've gone, they had very strong and differing opinions. But they seemed like they worked together well. The county council didn't seem that way tonight. Now, it could have just been it was a divisive issue and they were promoting their stake. But there were some jabs back and forth. There were some things. But the county considered today the second reading of the ordinance to put a referendum on the ballot in November to raise the sales tax 1% to pay for 8 years to pay for roads and bridges, and to follow the recommendation of the Citizens Roads Advisory Committee. So when it was brought up, Councilman Sid Cates, who was actually my councilman, moved that it be tabled. And he said he moved it to be tabled for two reasons, but his main reason was that there's a section of the county that currently is without a representative on the council. Councilman Rawls, who passed away recently, represented District 26, and they do not have a representative yet. They've held a special primary. Now it's going to have a special election, and I believe he will be sworn in, whoever he might be, at the beginning of July. The councilman said, we need to wait. We need to let these people have their voice on this subject. Now, you know me. You know I support letting the people have their voice. I wondered, though, how genuine Councilman Cates' concern about having their voice was when he didn't object to all the other things on the docket, all the other votes, first, second, and third final readings. He didn't object that they stop making those votes. until there's a representative. Now, I know this is a big issue. The people, they brought it up to see if it would be tabled, and it failed. Now, it's interesting how it failed, but the arguments saying that we shouldn't table it came along this way. Councilwoman Size Seamus and Councilwoman Gibson made the point that the public all across the district, all across the county, has had representation. There have been 7 public hearings. There have been county council meetings. You can email, you can call. That all of that is an availability of having public representation. But more importantly, and their bottom line was, this was a vote to give the people the vote on this. Therefore, the people of District 26 would have a voice. Now, it's interesting. We've got 1 empty seat because of the passing of Councilman Rawls, and there was 1 council member who wasn't there. When the vote was taken to table it until the new representative was there, the councilman was there, which wouldn't have impacted the overall thing. It still could have gotten past a final reading and put on the ballot as long as it got done by August 1st. The vote came down 5 in favor of tabling it, 5 against tabling it. Because there was a tie, it failed. Now, I don't think that the citizens in District 26 are not being represented. I don't really think that we have to wait to get the council person on there. The vote before, in the first reading, was 8-3 to pass it. Bring another council member on it. Even if he voted no, it'd be 7-4. But here's what I do think. I think it would have been a good thing to say, you know what? Let's wait on this big issue. This issue that affects the wallets of everybody, big time. Let's wait until that guy is, the new council member is put in place. I don't think it was necessary, but I think it was a good idea. And this vote, 5-5, demonstrated that maybe we should have had somebody. Then Councilman Cates introduced an amendment. His amendment was to say, rather than have a single resolution that says, do you support, and now I'm paraphrasing, raising sales tax 1% in order to pay for roads, going by the advice of the committee and so forth. He said, why don't we break it into 4 votes, 4 resolutions that mirrored the 4 areas that the Citizens Roads Advisory Committee identified as needing to be done and needing to be, the money would be going to. So it would be 4 separate votes, and the people could vote, okay, I think we should raise taxes to cover paving and filling potholes. And I think we should do road improvements and bridge fixing. I don't think we should work on bike paths and sidewalks today. They can make whatever decisions they want. Vote for 1, vote for 2, vote for 3, vote for 4, vote for none. And that was put up as an amendment. And my first thought was, that sounds pretty good. Then Councilman Meadows wanted to make an amendment to the amendment. It got confusing out there. The parliamentary thing was kind of crazy up there. But he wanted to make it just 2. He wanted to break those 4 things into 2 groups. And I thought, well, I don't know. Well, in the discussion about that, there was a point brought out. I mean, Councilman Cates made the statement, we'll let the people vote. Now, Councilman Cates is against putting the thing on the ballot. He doesn't want the people to vote in November on this because he doesn't believe we should raise the taxes. And I respect that. But he tossed it toward the statement toward Councilman Curvin, who had earlier said, well, just go ahead and pass this and let the people vote on it. Let the people make the decision. So Councilman Cates said, yes, let the people make the decision of what they want to fund. Well, the one thing that was pointed out by Councilman Payne and Councilman Curvin was some of these are interconnected. You might have a road paving project, filling potholes, that's also connected to a road improvement, a widening of lanes. And that the most efficient and cost-effective way to do it is to do them in connection with each other. But if we broke those up into 4 categories and the voters said, okay, we're going to vote this, but no on that, when it came around to doing it, you would end up spending more money. And it's kind of micromanaging details of how these things work that the general public doesn't know about. So as I listened and found out more of this information, I opposed the Councilman Cates' idea of breaking it up into 4 categories. Although I would say this, if there was a proposal that said bridges, paving, and road improvements, and then a separate one that said pedestrian things, sidewalks, bicycle lanes, so we voted on 2 things, I might support that. The fireworks were interesting. Councilman Payne asked Councilman Cates that if they voted for his amendment to divide it into 4 places, would he vote for the referendum? And of course he said, hey, I don't think it's the time to say that now, and I'll reserve my right to vote on it when the time comes to vote. And they went back and forth. And the same thing happened with Councilman Meadows. And there were zingers thrown back and forth. And the concept was, Councilman Cates talked a lot about, after this point until the end of the meeting, let the people vote. We just want the people to vote. And even the way he said it, you knew he was mocking the argument that said, put this on the ballot to let the people vote. Because in his opinion, it's not a good thing, and it shouldn't be, the people shouldn't have to vote on it. There was a final amendment that really got technical about the state having this on the state roads. Let the state pay for engineering and inspecting, and then we would pay for the paving of it because they didn't want to have to spend more money than we should. And it came down to this question again. You want to have the state. You want to say, okay, the state's going to do this, and they called this idea. If the state says no, what happens? Then we don't fix the road. And the bottom line is, if the concept is the state's not doing it now, telling them, hey, we'll let you do part of it we'll pay for part of it, isn't going to induce them to do it. And so again, the amendment seemed to be an attempt to slow down or change what this was all about. But there were some pretty close to testy exchanges between the 2 sides. A bottom line for me, I think that the people should vote on a big question. But I don't think that the general public is going to know, first of all, the facts and the detailed interworking of what the cost benefit is of doing these 2 together, doing them connected, doing them separately. And I'm not one who says that people should vote on everything. But because state law requires a vote by the people on raising taxes, I think it should be done. I think we do need these roads fixed. I had a conversation with someone who said, yeah, but if we do this now, the state will never give us the money. The state's not giving the money. And the roads still need fixing. Now, I will say, Seth Powell of Americans for Prosperity and I had a meeting a couple weeks ago in which he said he urged the council and people like you and I to go and fuss at Columbia and say, give us the money we're supposed to have. You're taking 16 cents for a gas tax. You're giving us 2 to 4 cents. That's wrong. Give us more of it. I'm all for that. I fully support that. What I loved about this meeting tonight is you had people passionate on both sides of the issue who came out, who left their homes to make themselves heard. And that was great. I wasn't impressed with the game playing on both sides. I think it was funny on those who supported the referendum, some of them saying, well, I don't, as a council person, I don't think I should make this kind of a decision. And I'm thinking, the wording you're saying is that you don't have to make tough decisions, but you're a councilman. We elect you to represent us. So you should make tough decisions. Both sides had some rhetoric that I had an issue with, and both sides played games. I think it should have been tabled until the new council member for District 26 was elected. Not because it needed to be. Not because the people don't have representation. But because it looks that way. All right, folks. We are going to take Memorial Day off this coming Monday. There will not be a new podcast this coming Monday. I'll have maybe some videos. And then on June 2nd, we will resume podcast. And we got a good one. We're going to be interviewing, among other things, we're going to be interviewing Ralph Sweeney, director of the Pleasant Valley Community Center, which does great work in an area of Greenville County that really needs help. So you can go to our website, canIGetAWordIn.com. Let us know what you think about this or other things. Go to Facebook at Another Voice with Eric and Friends. Find us on YouTube at Be Another Voice, or go tweet us at Twitter at Be Another Voice. And until we meet again, get out in the community and make a difference.